In this short and concise video, I'm going to be breaking down the exact step-by-step intuitive lean eating approach that high-achieving men in their 30s and 40s are using to accelerate fat loss, pack on lean muscle, and transform not only their physique, but their confidence, mindset, energy, and overall health. What I've found over the years is when you put your health first and you prioritize that, every single area of your life will improve. So let's get right into the video. No need to waste any more time. What is the first step in this process? And how is it all going to fit in tandem? Let's break it all down. The first thing you need to understand before we go through this process, transparently, guys just like yourself watch videos just like this and they don't ever implement or take action. Now, if you want to accelerate the process and actually learn how I help guys do this inside the AYP, Achieve Your Ideal Physique coaching community, then you can just go on Instagram and message me the word transform, or click the link below and book in a free roadmap session where we'll break down how exactly I help guys just like you, high achieving men in their 30s and 40s, transform their physique. So let's get right into the actual tactics. First thing you need to understand, there's 3 macronutrients that are extremely important: fats, carbohydrates, and protein. I'm going to summarize this the best way I can. Protein is very satiating, meaning it's going to fill you up and prevent you from having a lot of cravings. Protein also has this amazing effect where when you're eating more protein, your body is burning more calories just by digesting and absorbing it all. So aside from it cutting out cravings, you're actually burning more calories by choosing this macronutrient as opposed to carbs or fats. Carbs and fats have their place, but protein is key. So why should you be eating protein? Well, it's going to fuel muscle growth, meaning when you're in the gym and you're training consistently, or like a lot of my clients just working out from home, you're going to be able to accelerate the amount of muscle mass that you put on. Second thing, with eating protein, it's going to rapidly accelerate your fat burning processes. Now, with carbohydrates are what is going to fuel your training sessions. You need carbohydrates because they break down into glycogen. Now, protein breaks down into amino acids, which are the building blocks of building muscle. When you have the right amino acid breakdown and you have enough protein, that is when you're signaling to your body we need to burn fat and gain muscle mass. Carbohydrates, a little bit different. Now, if you're not doing this properly and timing your carbohydrates, it will not be used effectively. And you'll be storing this as future energy, aka body fat or adipose tissue, if you like the scientific term. Most people don't want to store extra body fat. I sure as hell know I don't. So this is why carbs are extremely important, but only to fuel your muscle growth and fuel your training sessions. And finally, fats, the final macronutrient of the 3. Fats are going to help you naturally optimize your hormones, meaning that your testosterone production as a man is going to be significantly higher and run more efficiently. All of these 3 work together, and you need the right amount of fats, the right amount of carbohydrates, and protein to make sure you're actually seeing results you're satisfied with. Now, just to give you a bit more context, timing of these meals is crucial, especially with carbohydrates. You're going to need carbohydrates before your workout and after your workout if you want to be able to fuel your training session so you can lift heavier, do more reps, and have more energy across those workouts, as well as post-workout once you've depleted and used up all of that glycogen, the stored energy in your muscles. You want to make sure that you're replacing that immediately or as soon as possible, ideally within 60 to 120 minutes, to make sure recovery is on point and your body can actually adapt, grow, build new muscle tissue from that training session. So now that you have a brief understanding of why these 3 are so important, let's briefly talk about calories and then we'll dive into the mumbo jumbo that I'm sure you're excited to hear about. Now, calories are very simple. Calories are energy. Protein, carbohydrates, and fats all are calories. Now, you probably know that, but here's what you might not understand. Energy in compared to energy out will determine whether you gain weight or whether you lose weight. Now, structuring that with the proper protein and amino acid profile is going to determine if you're losing good weight versus bad weight. Losing good weight means that you're burning body fat and maintaining muscle so that when you lose weight on the scale, you have a toned and defined look, your muscle actually pops, and you have a physique that stands out. If your protein is not where it needs to be and you're not training properly and you're not having some sort of exercise regimen to help you progressively gain new muscle, then what happens is you might lose weight, and most likely you will, but what tends to happen is you have a skinny fat look where you've lost weight on the scale, but you look relatively the same and you're not happy with where you're at. So this is why protein being high, calories being below maintenance, if you're wanting to burn fat, is extremely important. So how many calories you're consuming versus how many you're burning will determine your weight. And again, the macronutrients will determine how your physique actually looks. Are you losing good or bad weight? Hopefully this is making sense so far. So let's get into the nitty gritty. Protein. You need to be having protein with almost every single meal of the day. The biggest thing I always tell my clients is aim for 30 to 40 grams of protein at least 3 times a day. If you're doing this, you're going to be most likely hitting the amount of protein you need. Some guys are a little bit under and they are a bit deficient, but that's where we add in higher protein meals. We add in maybe supplements, which are of course optional, or we just have them eat a little bit more frequently across the day. You want to be aiming for about 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. So if you weigh 200 pounds as a male and you're looking to lose fat, I would say 200 grams of protein is your best bet. But at the same time, it's hard to go overnight and just make a switch like that because most guys on average eat 60 to 80 grams a day. And if you're not eating enough protein, you're not going to be seeing the results you want. So when it comes to protein, what are your best bets? Whole foods are key. Sometimes it's not always doable though to get in whole foods when you're on the go. So prioritizing protein will make it much, much easier, even if you're not eating perfect all the time. Steak, burgers, chicken, all of these sorts of dishes are your best bet. When you're at home and you're able to cook, exact same thing. Red meat, chicken, fish, ground turkey, steak, all of this stuff, perfect. There are plant-based proteins. We could go on and on and on. There's protein powders, which can come in handy at times as well, assuming that you tolerate dairy well. But the biggest thing is just, are you eating enough protein and are you getting an amino acid breakdown that's going to suit your goals and help you fuel your metabolism for fat loss as well as packing on additional lean muscle. So if you can eat your body weight in grams of protein every single day, this is really going to help you transform your physique. Carbohydrates, again, they're very important pre and post-workout because it's going to fuel your training. You want to have fast digesting carbohydrates around your workout window. White starches are your best bet. This could be things like white rice, white potatoes, white bread, sugar. It's not ideal for overall health, but it's going to break down into energy the exact same way. Now, you need to be careful with the white starches because it does cause more of an insulin spike, meaning that your blood sugar does jump compared to something like a lower glycemic carbohydrate, something like sweet potato, a darker starch, if you will, wheat bread, things like that, right? So ideally get the majority of your carbohydrates around your workout window because when you're eating carbohydrates and you're not about to train or have just come from a training session, you're more than likely going to store that as excess fat. When I started doing this, my physique quite literally unlocked and transformed into the physique I always wanted. So when you can put majority of your carbs around your workout window, that's going to give you that fast digesting, quick energy you need to get an amazing training session. The other meals across the day, you want to go for more of these dark starches. Again, things like purple and sweet potato, things like brown rice, things like pasta. So again, if you can go for these white starches pre and post workout, that's going to make your training sessions so much more efficient and your body is going to actually recover properly. The rest of the day, you want to have these lower glycemic dark colored starches as well as fats in your diet. So fats, things like avocados, things like eggs, things like cheese, dairy products, nuts, perfect bet. Now, the biggest thing I want you to get from this video is just number one, walking away with how many grams of protein am I getting and how many calories am I eating? Most people don't know how many calories they burn. That's a big bottleneck that prevents them from actually seeing sustainable fat loss. Now, a good rule of thumb is to go for about 2,500 calories. You will start to see after about a week of stepping on the scale a couple of times, is your weight going up or going down? Now, everybody's body needs slightly different amounts of calories, but if you're seeing your weight consistently go up, okay, that's a sign that you should probably eat a little bit less. You can bring your food back up as your body starts burning more, as you start building more muscle, because again, like I mentioned at the beginning, eating more calories will lead to fat gain. But if you're consistently gaining muscle, that's going to start to offset and your body's going to need more fuel to gain muscle. As you gain muscle, you're going to subsidize the amount of fat. You're going to get leaner and leaner and leaner. So 2,500 calories, keep it there every single day, give or take. At the end of the week, did your weight go up? Did it go down? If it went up, okay, let's drop it down 250 calories. So now you're at 2,250. Do that next week. Is your weight going up, down? This is going to give you a very good idea of how many calories you can eat. Most guys are surprised they can eat way more food than they otherwise thought. They're just not eating necessarily the right types of foods. If you have a protein high diet as well as calories structured around your maintenance, you will, number one, start seeing way more muscle definition, and number two, you will start seeing accelerated fat loss week over week. Now, on the contrary, if you're noticing that your weight is going down at eating 2,500 calories, that's a sign of one of two things. Either one, you can choose to keep your food exactly the same and see how much weight you drop, or two, you can up your food a little bit if you're feeling really, really hungry and jittery across the day. So protein is key, calories are key, fats and carbs are a bit more complex, but if you can just summarize this video by putting majority of your carbohydrates around your workout window and then putting fats in the latter half of the day as well as the morning outside as far as possible from your training sessions, that's going to help your hormones start to become optimized. Testosterone is extremely crucial because when you have better and more efficient testosterone levels, which come from things like eating fats, getting sunlight, getting proper sleep, hydrating properly, strength training, and cardio, when you can do all these things, the fat is going to help amplify that. And when you're amplifying your testosterone levels, guess what happens? Fat loss becomes so much easier, and gaining lean muscle becomes far, far easier as well. So I hope this video was super helpful. I want to give you a couple ideas of what you can do to start incorporating these foods. Again, start to think about how much protein are you getting in from your meals, and then how many calories do you need across the entire day. Let's say you're eating 3 meals a day and your calories are at 2,500 calories. Roughly, you want each meal to be about 800 calories. So if you need 800 calories per meal on average, that means you just need to do some simple math. Now, I have a macro calculator that's going to determine specifically what your body needs based on step count, how active you are, if you're sedentary, or if you're up on your feet a lot throughout the day. You can just click the link below. I have a free macro calculator. You want to pull it up on your computer, and it's going to allow you to plug in your metrics, things like your age, your gender, your weight. It's specifically for men that want to accelerate fat loss and pack on lean muscle. Once you put your metrics in there, it's going to show you a much more accurate description of what you should be doing, and then you tailor that with time. So just, again, click the link below. It's going to be in the description. If you want to check that out, I think it will help a ton. But in case you don't want to do that, here's what you can do. Understand that there are 4 calories in 1 gram of carbohydrates, meaning that for every 1 gram of carbohydrate you eat, you're consuming 4 calories. Same thing with protein. 1 gram of protein is 4 calories. So if you need 200 grams of protein every single day, and that's your body weight, or you're a little bit heavier than 200, 800 of your total calories are going to come from protein. 1 gram of fat accounts for 9 calories. So if you have 10 grams of fat, that's 90 calories versus 10 grams of carbohydrates or 10 grams of protein is going to be just 40 calories. So good rule of thumb is just backfill everything, meaning that, okay, I need 800 calories per meal for 3 meals a day. Let's say 2,400 calories is the goal you're aiming for. Okay, so that means that I want to roughly distribute these evenly so my body gets into a nice rhythm and the timing of my nutrition is down pat, and I'm starting to see accelerated fat loss. So if you're aiming for 800 calories roughly per meal, that means that for you to put 40 grams of protein in that meal, that's going to equate to 160 calories. So let's say you aim for 40 grams of protein in each of those 3 meals. That means that's going to account for 160 total calories. Across the entire day, you're going to get 120 grams of protein, and you're going to get roughly 480 calories, give or take, from that, meaning you have so much more left over. You want to distribute that to carbs as well as fats. So the easiest way you can do this is, okay, 40 grams of protein in my first meal, 40 grams of protein in my second meal, 40 grams of protein in my third meal. Now, very similar with carbohydrates, same thing, except you want to put more of your carbs around that workout window like I mentioned. So let's say first meal is 40 grams of protein, 40 grams of carbohydrates, and 20 grams of fat. Let's say your pre-workout meal, you're getting in 40 grams of protein, 40 grams of carbohydrates, and 5 grams of fat. You want to tend to have lower fats around your workout window. It does slow your metabolism down a bit, and you want fast digesting energy, quickly absorbing energy from things like lean protein and fast digesting carbohydrates. And then you want to just backfill. So the simplest way to do this is put 30 to 50 grams of protein in all 3 of those meals, add in about 30 to 50 grams of carbohydrates in each of those meals. And then for your pre-workout meal, just try to keep fats pretty minimal. the more fat you have pre-workout and post-workout, the more it's going to affect things, and it essentially will slow down your digestion as well as your metabolism, and you want the complete opposite pre and post-workout. You want to be eating lean, quick, and fast digesting nutrients from lean protein and from carbohydrates. So I hope this gave you a lot of insight. Again, this is my lean eating guide. Now, if you've watched this video and you've thought to yourself, well, this seems all good and dandy, but I don't know if I can actually implement this myself and hold myself accountable, just understand that's extremely normal. Most guys I work with, they are getting information that they're unaware they needed, but 90% of it is them actually being held accountable and having different feedback loops, different implementation that they didn't know they needed. And that's where I help guys the most, is implementing what I've taught to their specific situation. We're all going to have a slightly different approach. We're all going to have a slightly different physique, goals, genetics, etc. The name of my coaching program is Achieve Your Ideal Physique, AYIP for short. The reason for that is everybody's going to have a slightly different physique. So I want to help you achieve your ideal physique. What does that look like for you? Well, it really depends on a lot of factors. You can take the information from this video, or you can be like my most successful students and be the ones that actually implement it. Again, if you want help with that, just either book a free roadmap session down below. We can jump on a Zoom call. Those calls are pretty simple. We spend the first half of the call diving deeper into your situation and what's actually been preventing you from taking action and seeing the sort of results you want. And even if you have been taking action, what's been the bottleneck and the thing that's been holding you back from not seeing the results you want. And at the second half of the call, if I feel that I can genuinely help you, I'll walk you through my 6-pillar blueprint, which includes more intuitive style training, nutrition, accountability, and mindset for sustained long-term fat loss and muscle growth. So again, either just click the link below and book in your free roadmap session, or message me on Instagram the word transform, and I'll walk you through step by step after asking you a couple more questions, how we can actually make this work. 2026 is going to be the year that you transform your physique, but only if you implement what's in this video, you take action, and you actually decide to commit. Every action we take, it all starts with our identity. When I was struggling to put on muscle when I was younger, it was because I didn't identify as the person that could have an amazing physique. When I finally started to identify myself as the type of person that was healthy, that was muscular, that was lean, guess what happened? Naturally, my thoughts started going that way as well. I was thinking about, how does this person act? And then I started taking those actions. I reverse engineered the entire process, and I achieved the physique that I've always wanted. Now, I'm nowhere near where I want to be, just like all my clients. They always have new goals, new aspirations, new things they want to achieve. But this whole process, this video, my coaching program, all the other videos on my YouTube channel, they are going to give you the frameworks you need to achieve your ideal physique and maintain it for the rest of your life. Because truly and genuinely, fitness changed my life from the inside out. It gave me the confidence, the self-belief, the conviction in myself. It allowed me to start this coaching business. It allowed me to start impacting and changing lives of men in your shoes that I was also in. I was wearing those exact same shoes, struggling with my energy, struggling with my motivation, struggling with my confidence, struggling with seeing results. And it wasn't until I decided to actually work with a coach and get step-by-step guidance that things really started to take off. When I started to piece together all of the information I had consumed, as well as the feedback I had gotten from myself and my own clients, that is when I developed my 6-pillar blueprint. Now, my 6-pillar blueprint is specifically what I help guys with inside my AYIP community. And inside that process, we're going through checkpoint after checkpoint until we help them achieve their ideal physique. Now, I'll let you in on a little secret. The final pillar of my coaching program of AYIP, it is intuitive implementation. That means that I want you to be able to intuitively do these things on your own, sustain them long term, but most importantly, have the frameworks behind the things that I'm teaching you, so this way you know how to achieve your ideal physique, get better results over and over and over, and if you ever fall off track, how to get right back on the wagon and continue going over and over until you see better and better results and teach it to other people. Fitness has changed my life. It's allowed me to impact so many people. I want to be able to impact so many more guys. So the only way I can do that is if you either A, you take what's in this video and you implement it into your actual situation, or B, you reach out, book a coaching call, or message me on Instagram, and I help guide you across that process like I have many, many guys in your shoes. So again, I appreciate you watching this. I'm excited to see you crush it in 2026. This is your year. Just take action, implement, and start to identify yourself as the person that you want to be. And eventually, the results will come to you. I'll see you guys real soon.